on me. Promise that you never.
What up, though? I am Fontaine the Titan. Peace to the fam, and if you have not done so already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. All right, we about to start breaking down what real magic is and why the scientific community, all these astrophysicists and all of this other people who got all of these titles and call themselves scientists or whatever that supposedly are discovering and naming stuff and all of that, why they don't want to mess with magic, right? So when we talk about magic and we look at magic and we think about magic, the first thing we start thinking about is like David Copperfield or David Blaine or, them other illusionists, right? The old make the Statue of Liberty disappear, type of folks, right? So once we get out of that mindset of what people conceive as magic, we got to understand that everything is magic. Absolutely everything, right? The reason why we don't look at everything as being magical is because we see everything all day, every day, and we're born into it and we're accustomed to this, right? So an example of this would be a phenomenon like having a baby, right? Having a baby is one of the most magical things you can do. Combination of the divine feminine energy and the divine masculine energy to create, right? Because that's what magic is all about. It's about creation, right? You know what I'm saying? But in the aspect of somebody having a baby, because people have babies all day, every day, all the time, some people had too many of them, we'll say, right? You got people out here with 4-5 different baby daddies. They might be working too much magic in some people's opinion. I don't know. But the reality of it is that because it happens all the time, we look at it as it's nothing, right? But it's magic, right? From every single fiber of everything that is you and everything that you see, touch, taste, and smell, that is also magic. But because that can be defined and quantified scientifically, we don't consider it magic no more. We consider it an aspect of this physical reality. We consider it an aspect of understanding because it can be measured, right? So the whole idea of what magic is takes it to a whole nother level when you start getting into the psychic understanding of what magic is, the psychological understanding of what magic is, which scientists don't touch, right? They say it's fugazi, it's a whole nother aspect that if it can't be proven and if it can't be measured, that's not what they're all about, right? So we go get into this book right here. This book is called Real Magick, right? Real Magick by Dean Radin. This book is super, super dope. Of course, I tell you all the books are super, super dope, but depending on the information that you're looking for, it ends up changing the game. You see what I'm saying? So this book right here, which we're about to get into, is really changes the game of how we get an understanding of why we don't think magic is real, why most people don't think magic is real, why people look at magic as like it's a fantasy because we're stuck in this physical reality, So when it comes to science and these scientific theories, right, what we got to understand is that a scientific theory still within itself is still a theory, right? They try to separate scientific theory from regular theory, but it's all the same. And what a scientific theory breaks down to is it is the best explanation based on experiments and all of that stuff that they did to say this is why something is going on. So they call it a scientific theory as opposed to just a theory. You see what I'm saying? Because they say it's been tested, it's been proven. But if you look at a lot of the scientific theories, you got to ask yourself, how is a lot of these scientific theories proven, right? Because they'll give you the theory of evolution. They'll give you the Big Bang theory. They'll give you string theory. They'll give you all of these different theories, explain to you how they work. But at the same time, at the end of the day, they still theories because what science doesn't go, it doesn't go past the things that you can see, taste, touch, taste, smell, whatever, all the physical stuff. What science fails to acknowledge, though, is that even all of the stuff that we see, the regular phenomenon that we do, is still magic within itself. We just been so desensitized because we do it every day, it don't even seem magical no more. But what we go get into is when we get into the aspect of the mind. Remember the first law of the Hermetics, Kybalion, the law of mentalism, the all is mind, the universe is mental, right? So what's going on in our mind that makes this magic what it is? Is it what we think it is, or is it something more, right? So let's get into this book, Real Magick, right? This book, Real Magick, got a couple of things highlighted in here that, I think we should investigate, right? So it says, Real magic falls into three categories: mental influence of the physical world, perception of events distant in space or time, and interactions with non-physical entities, right? It says the first type I'll call force of will. It's associated with spell casting and other techniques meant to intentionally influence events or actions, right? The second is divination. It's associated with practices such as reading tarot cards and mirror gazing. The third is theurgy, from the Greek meaning God work. It involves methods for evoking and communicating with spirits, right? So you got these different aspects of magic, right? These are the aspects of magic that the scientists say is not what it is, right? We can't do it. It's impossible, because if they haven't had an experience, sometimes in order to be able to understand magic, you got to have a personal experience. And all of us have had these experiences. We done had dreams. We done had that intuition. I knew this was going to happen. The whole aspect of manifestation, the law of attraction. And, we'll look at something like the law of attraction and be like, and don't consider that as magic, right? And they'll tell you to vision what you want to be and all of that. That is a form of magic, as we're going to get into, what you're going to get a higher understanding of, okay? Because when it comes to the magic that we do every single day, we plan out our day. Even the aspect of planning out your day to even see where you're going to be at in the end of the day is a form of magic. But because it's so minuscule in the thought realm that we live in, we don't consider it as magic, right? But let's continue. Let's get into something else dope, right? Because what we got to understand here, as I skip through, you got to understand everything is magic and the mental aspect of magic, right? So they got what they call psi, right? Or psychic phenomena, which are experiences that have been labeled as telepathy, which is images or emotions shared between minds separated by distance; clairvoyance, which is the perception of distant events or images; precognition, perception of distant events or images through time; and psychokinesis, influence of distant systems via mental intention. It says these topics are studied within the discipline known as parapsychology, right? So people do study different aspects of the mind, how it works, and the magic, right, that's behind it. However, scientists really don't, consider that. The mainstream scientists, right, they really don't consider none of this as a real form of science to be actually studied, right? So let me give you a quote here, right? Let me give you a quote here. It's this it's out of Patrick Dunn's 2005 book, Postmodern Magic. And it says it's more typical of what modern magicians have to say about psi as the scientific study of magic, right? So they're talking about the psychic phenomenon. It says looking for a scientific explanation for magic is like trying to find a scientific explanation for poetry. It says science simply does not and cannot study magic any more than it can study the phenomenon of art. Wow. So you got to look at that, and you got to look at that on a real high level, right? How can you study something that's innately all encompassing of everything, right? So in my understanding of magic, a lot of people take the definition of magic and they'll say is, using your thought and intention to produce a desired result or something like that. Everybody has their own technical definitions of what magic is. But like I say, I look at everything as being magic, because understanding that this is all an illusion. And if you read the Holographic Universe book, you will see how things break down into this illusion, how everything is fragmented based on holographic principles, right? But even as we take this further, because in the holographic universe, they give a whole heap of experiments and all of that stuff to prove what this holographic stuff is, right? But even if you take it to if it's a holographic essence that we're living in, an illusion that we're living in, then by definition, it technically has to be magical, right? How can it not be magical if nothing is actually touching? So when you go and study quantum physics and they done broke everything, single thing down to the last quark of the smallest thing that you can measure, they noticed that it wasn't nothing around anything but empty space. So even though we're looking at everything that is all physical, at the end of the day, it's all empty space. So if it's really all empty space, that means something has to be going on to influence this empty space to be something that we would consider physical, right? So on the physical side of the game, we don't have an understanding that it's our mind that is creating all of this. And if you go back to the wave particle duality experiment, you will see that that is a repeatable experiment that shows that our consciousness is what makes things a solid reality, right? So if you look at your consciousness, our mind, knowing that the mind is all in the universe is mental, then you can understand that we not only we influencing the physical reality we living in, but we have other aspects of powers that we have not unlocked because we've been told that they don't exist, and then we just go with the flow of what the government say, what science say, and what your religion say, right? So let's get into this, right? Let's take this a step further, a little bit step deeper, right? Because we'll sit up here and we'll ask ourselves, what do religion got to say about this, right? Most folks that's in religions don't even understand that the whole aspect of their religion, especially, if you're a Christian out here, is surrounded by a whole heap of magical principles that you don't acknowledge to be out here in the real world, yet you will believe that Jesus walked on water and turned water into wine and all this other cool stuff, but then you will look and be like, oh no, but it can't nobody else do it. So if you're taking the Bible literally and you will say that Jesus was a physical being that lived here, which if you do your research, you will have a higher understanding and understand what they was really trying to explain, which I'm not going to get into that right now. But even if you are taking it literally, how can you say that it's not magical? This place cannot be a magical place. Why? Because he God. But in the Bible, Jesus also tell you that ye are gods and you have more power, right? So we got to start taking this a little bit more seriously, right? But if that's the case and everything is all magic, why isn't the church propagating this stuff? Because they obviously using magic for their own benefit, right? So let's read this part here. It says, the early Catholic Church faced the problem of distinguishing between lawful, divine miracles and illicit, selfish, or demonic acts of magic. That problem led to the unequivocal rejection and condemnation of any foreign magic that is performed outside of the church. That was done by St. Augustine, 254. He lived from 254 CE to 430. He said this prohibition was codified within the Catechism of the Catholic Church, right? It says, so let's turn to the Catechism, Part 3, Section 2, Chapter 1, Article 1.3, the section titled, You Shall Have No Other Gods Before Me. There where you find the paragraph 216 and 2116 and 2117. This going hard, right? This is what it's telling you about magic within the Catholic Church. Now keep in mind, everything came from the Catholic Church, which is the Roman Catholic Church, which at the end of the day, when the Roman Catholic Church and the governments, they allegedly split up, but it's really all the same entity, right? So in order to control you and have you thinking that you can't do magic, they wrote this catechism that basically says off the tops that you can't do magic. 2116. All forms of divination are to be rejected. Recourse to Satan or demons, conjuring up the dead, or other practices falsely supposed to unveil the future, right? They telling you off the tops you can't do none of this stuff, right? They put Satan in there. They try to scare the hell out of you. You know how that's that whole religion thing, right? 2117 says, all practices of magic or sorcery by which one attempts to tame occult powers so as to place them at one's service and have a supernatural power over others, even if this were for the sake of restoring their health, are gravely contrary to the virtue of religion. Wow. But yet you still see pastors out there talking about, I'm healing people, and you got people all falling back, people trying to get up to walk and all that cool stuff. And so they actually practicing magic in the church, but because they doing it under the name of they set up with God or Jesus or whatever it is they trying to sell to you, it's okay for them, but they'll tell you it's not okay for you, right? It says, for those who religiously follow the catechism, these injunctions leave no wiggle room. That's why the Harry Potter books are simultaneously the most popular and the most banned books in the world, right? So that gets really, really deep on the understanding of magic. You know, this goes back a long time ago. In this book, it actually breaks down the history going forward and up on what they felt about magic, right? So this is what they had to say about magic back in the day, right? It says the notion that magic was an obvious false practice was widely and uncritically accepted among anthropologists, right? So you got your anthropologists out here, right? All aspects of science. This is one of the first ones that legitimately said magic ain't real. Magic ain't got nothing to do with nothing. It's fake, it's false, right? It says in 1901, Columbia University granted its first PhD in anthropology to Alfred L. Kroeber, right? It says in Kroeber's textbook on anthropology, published a year after this guy named Fraser, which I didn't read about him, but if you go get the book, you can read it all. He says, we find the following directly out of Tyler's book. He says, this is what they got to say about magic for all the people that want to get a higher understanding. This is what the scientists and all of their stories from going on from back in the day all the way up into now, while you scared of it, this is what they had to say about it. It says, beliefs in magic, such as are normal in backwards societies, do recur in cultures that by profession have discarded magic, but chiefly among individuals whose social fortune is backward or who are psychotic, mentally deteriorated, or otherwise subnormal. So if you putting that stigma out here in these colleges, in these books, saying that if you believe in magic, you are mentally deteriorated and you are subnormal, why would you want to be involved in something when you got these professors out here getting degrees and they're the ones that's telling you, well, there's got to be something wrong with you if you believe in magic. So of course, especially back in the day, that stigma, you don't want to get involved in that. Not to mention the witch hunts of back in the day, right? Because when it comes down to these witch hunts, let me read this part off to you, right? These witch hunts, you thought it was over? No. These witch hunts are not over. Listen to this. It says, while some scholars still argue that magic is all based on deception, their pronouncements haven't stopped the tragedy of witch hunts. You thought witch hunts was over? Listen to this, right? It says, which are still luridly alive in some areas of the world. In 2014, that ain't nothing but 5 years ago. Let's keep this real. This is 5 years ago. More than 1,000 women in Tanzania, all believed to be witches by frightened neighbors, were lynched, stoned, or hacked to death, right? They still killing people for out here practicing magic. You got to know it's real out here. If anybody, if it's real and they scared of it, they go kill you. You see what I'm saying? So let's take this to another level, right? It says, according to a 2014 article in the New York Times, the United Nations Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights reported that most of the 25,000 to 50,000 children who live on the streets of Kinshasa, the capital of the Democratic Republic of Congo, were abandoned by family members who accused them of witchcraft or demonic possession. The same article mentions how the Catholic Church, the same people who don't want you doing magic, which is not known for its historical tolerances of witches, is providing shelter for accused witches in Papua New Guinea. Wow. Still witch hunting going on out here? So you're wondering why people are afraid to say magic is real and why you know, you don't want to get involved in that because they got you afraid you go to hell. They got you afraid that you go, you know, get killed out here. You know, they still got witch hunts going on. So, you know, the whole fallacy of it is crazy. So let's take this a step further. Let's get into what magic really is. Why you shouldn't be afraid of it, in my opinion. You know, if you still don't want to deal around with magic, then I suggest you do some more research on it, or you can just keep on running on back to the church or wherever it is you need to go, or you can go ahead and keep on reading from your science books and all of that and learning from what they telling you. But they not, like I say, they're not telling you the real, because in order for them to keep control of you, they have to make sure that you are not doing none of the stuff that's divine within you getting to know yourself, right? So when you're going into magical thinking, it says, while many scientists are quick to dismiss magical thinking as nonsense, the fact is that practically everyone engages. Everyone. You, me, your mama, your daddy, your papa, your sister, your brother. Everyone engages in magical thinking all the time. So, to account for this, psychologists have proposed 4 main explanations, right? Dig this here, right? It says, for people who believe in magic, believers are wretchedly ignorant or sadly embedded within a religious culture that regards magic to be self-evident. So they basically saying that you got to be part of something. That's the only way you go to think magic real. Or believers are burdened with one or more cognitive or reasoning defects. And they saying something wrong with your mind. But once again, it says believers are mentally ill or are high on the scale of schizotypy. That is, they have the tendencies towards schizophrenic ideation, right? So they said if you basically believe in the magic, you were schizophrenic, right? Or 4, everyone's brains are just hardwired to believe in magic. In other words, if you believe in magic, either you're stupid, you're nuts, or you just can't help it. That last explanation covers everyone, presumably including those who propose these explanations, because that's the whole point. We got a whole bunch of things. We call them miracles. We call them phenomena. But if you call it magic, people go look at you like you crazy, especially in the scientific community. And keep in mind, the reason why they're going through all of this is because they cannot prove that it works, right? So let's take this a step further, right? Because when you're talking about magic, you have to get a higher understanding of what it is. So when it comes to the practice of magic, it says the essence of magic boils down to the application, right? This is how you really get into working your magic, right? The 2 ordinary mental skills, it's attention and intention. It says the strength of the magical outcome is modulated by 4 factors: belief, imagination, emotion, and clarity. That's basically it. The ceremonial robes, somber settings, black candles, secret handshakes, chanting in ancient languages, sex and drugs are all good theater, which may help in withdrawing the mind from the distraction of the mundane world, but ultimately they're unnecessary. So basically what they're saying is, like I say, the all is mind, the universe is mental, right? So when we get to understanding magic in its essence, when you was a little kid, you thought everything was magical. And then as you grew up, they told you that that wasn't real. They might have put a whole bunch of other garbage in your head that actually really isn't real, but yet you believe in that, but you don't believe in your own powers anymore because this whole world has told you that you do not have them. Yet you got people out here that can literally do a whole heap of stuff based off of their mental, right? And so what this book ends up going on towards in the end is giving you scientific research of actual studies and actual experiments that they've done to show how magic really works that is proven, you know. But what the scientific community says, they throw all of that stuff away. The same way in the holographic universe when they threw away those principles based on Albert Einstein saying that, hey, well, if that's right, then it makes me wrong. And so we can't use that because it makes me wrong. And if that's the whole principle on why their scientific theories are being propagated out here, it's just for the simple fact that they don't want to be wrong, then we got to reinvestigate what they're actually trying to teach us and tell us in these schools and what these religions and everybody is out here trying to say. Because if I told you that you were a magical person, that you can do anything, that's got to be something that you feel within yourself. Because if you got the mindset of this world being physical, then you're going to look at me like, yeah, this dude crazy. Yeah, I could do anything. But in your subconscious mind, where everything rolls out, where that program is really stuck in, if you stick thinking and you have doubts about yourself, then you will never be able to accomplish what you need to accomplish, right? And then people look at magic, as it said there, you don't really even need all of that stuff. So, you could do candle magic and, light your candles, dress in your robes and all of that stuff and have whatever rituals you got going on. But when we look at the essence of rituals, right, understanding what a ritual really is, a ritual is just a routine. A ritual is a routine that you do to get a desired result. So getting up and jumping in the shower and brushing your teeth every day is a ritual within itself. Why? Because you're doing that to do what? So you can be clean and have clean breath, right? But because we do all of these other stuff every single day, we try to look at ritual or something like that and give it a whole nother context of what you're really doing out here. But yet, you got people who out here who say that they a Christian or whatever and they don't practice magic, but yet they every first Sunday they going to drink the blood of Jesus and eat his body. That's the bread. And if you told somebody that is not in a Christian mindset that I'm gonna need you to eat somebody's body and drink their blood, they'd be like, you crazy. But you got Christians that go to church every Sunday and this is what they do. However, they won't say that they participating in any type of witchcraft or magic, because it's all a conception of the mind and your perspective of what you think you're doing. So when it comes to trying to manifest out here, a lot of people look at the law of attraction and think that all you got to do is do things mentally. But at the end of the day, you can sit and visualize whatever you want. The power comes within putting in the actual work to be able to take it a step further, right? And so this book right here breaks down how to write a sigil, the force of will, how to use your will to be able to do stuff, right? Let me read some of this here. Where is it at? Right? It says affirmations, okay? Just to give you a little insight on how this magic works, what you can do for yourself. Take this with you. Boom. You know what I'm saying? Here's a free gift for those of you coming straight out of the Real Magic book on how to do it. And trust me, you can take it to as highest levels as you want to. This is just a foundation of where to start from if you want to just practice some magic on a mental level, right? It says, force of will magic involves the application of focused attention, intention, imagination, and belief, right? So it's preposterously simple, but many claim that it works. We'll use a lightly elaborated example from the appropriately titled book, It Works. This book provides a prime example of writing magic, one of the earliest forms of magical practice. So what you got to understand is writing, they call it writing, right? Writing is what? Spelling, right? So when you learn the alphabet, you learn how to spell. Boom, they just right up under your nose on what they actually teaching you how to do. So if you writing down your intentions, you could be able to take those intentions and manifest something into the future. But here's how I go. First of all, know what you want. The clearer the intended goal, the more likely it will manifest. Believe that the goal will be achieved. Imagine that it has already been achieved in the future and it is inexorably headed your way. Write the goal on a piece of paper to focus your attention, right? Spell it out, spelling, right? Use a pen and a paper exclusively reserved for this purpose. While writing, imagine that the surface of the paper represents universal consciousness and the ink represents your unconscious. As you write your goal, imagine that you are casting your unconscious intentions onto the medium that creates and sustains reality itself, right? So that's one. 2, review what you want. Review your goal daily. Between reviews, do not dwell on it, right? So that you got to look at it, focus your intention, let it go. It says you want to strengthen your intention and keep it clear, but you also want to allow the goal to seep into your unconscious because that's where magic is catalyzed, in your subconscious mind. So you really got to reprogram your subconscious mind to be able to want to accept the manifestation that you're trying to put out here for yourself, right? It says you may want to secure the writing paper with a special ribbon or place it in a box, set it aside specifically for this purpose. Number 3, maintain secrecy. Don't share your goal with others. They may inject doubt, and you need to maintain strong belief. Because if you out here telling everybody what you're doing with your magic and all of that stuff, you go run into them people like, man, that ain't gonna work, and put all these doubts in your head and laugh at you and all of that. Don't worry about that. Do what you do for yourself. This is about you. It's about knowing thyself and finding yourself within your journey, within your magical journey, right? And it says, number 4, when it works, accept the outcome with gratitude and use it to strengthen your belief. And I do this all the time. In order for me to be able to manifest the next thing, a lot of the times I just look at all the other stuff that I manifested. And I'll be like, I did that, I did that, I did that, and I did that. So this next one gotta work. And it's a mental thing. And you strengthen your subconscious mind to make you in a position to be successful in your magic. It says this method, like any form of magical manifestation, is neutral with respect to morals or ethics, right? So this is what you got to understand about what you're trying to manifest out here. Or energy don't have a moral or an ethic to it. Energy is just going to do what it do, right? So when you have that concept going on, you be careful with what you're trying to put out here, because it's only going to be good or bad to you and how you feel about it. That's why if you always having negative thoughts and you always thinking something bad go happen and you always going through tragedies, that is the aspect of the negative magic that you putting out for yourself. And you wondering why you keep on getting all of this bad stuff coming back to you. You literally got a spell on yourself and yourself that is promoting all of this other stuff to come back to you that you perceive as negative. But energy ain't got no name on it. It ain't gonna tell you, oh, we not gonna do what you asking because we think it might hurt you. You go feel bad about it. It's gonna give you exactly what you say you want, even if you don't really want it. But if in your subconscious mind, that's what you're producing, that's what you're gonna get, right? It says, however, virtue is its own reward, and it's useful to keep in mind Spider-Man's motto. With great power comes great responsibility. This means it would be morally questionable to use this technique to influence someone else, even in a way that you would consider to be positive without that person's permission, right? So you can't be out here trying to really put spells on other people. That's really not the goal of this. It's really the goal is to empower yourself. Even though there are love spells and other spells and sex magic and all of that other stuff, which we go get into a whole heap of all of that other stuff in the future. But you got to understand, you should be doing magic for yourself. You shouldn't be doing magic to try to get somebody else to do something, you know? It says, in addition, from a pragmatic perspective, it is useful to begin with simple, easily measurable outcomes, like finding a small amount of money or achieving a modest goal. Avoid jumping straight away into grandiose schemes like world peace. Not because it wouldn't work, at least in principle, but because gaining crystal clarity on what an accomplishment of that type of goal would mean and how one would know if it happened isn't as simple as it may seem. And so, you know, what they mean is take baby steps, right? You take baby steps with your magic as you strengthen it up. For example, everybody want $1 billion, and you can use a money spell and say that you want $1 billion. You know what your subconscious mind is going to do? Your subconscious mind going to laugh at you like, yeah, right. You can barely pay the rent next month. I'm going to give you $1 billion. So since you asking for that, I ain't giving you nothing. And you're going to keep on going around in the same old thing. Then you're going to be like, this magic ain't work because I ain't got $1 billion. It doesn't work like that. But you can make a whole heap of money by doing your magic properly, by taking small steps, you know? So you might say, all right, in your magical concept, if the mind is all, the universe is mental, you're putting your intention and your focus into getting some more money. So one thing you will do is, instead of focusing on the money aspect of it, right, you focus on something that you like to do, and then that will bring you the money. You know, it's other ways to just sit up there and be like, I want some money, I need $10,000. It don't work like that. If you focus on the actual goal of what you want to use the money for, that will come, because your subconscious mind has to put everything together in order for that goal to be reached. And then if it's $10,000, then the $10,000 will somehow find a way to manifest in your reality for you to reach that goal. But just sitting back and trying to do spells for $10,000 ain't gonna work. What people don't understand is that money is an air element. You know, a lot of people categorize it as a element of earth, but that's not really the case. What goes on is that money is fluid, money flows, money is transferable, money is elusive, right? So if you're trying to focus your intention on money, that's why you see everybody always talking about, oh, I'm chasing a bag, I'm chasing a bag. There's ways to get that. You can stop chasing the bag and have that bag turn around and walk right up to you. You ain't even got to chase it no more. And when you start getting into higher levels of abundance, prosperity, you know, and embodying those energies, money is below those energies. So the money automatically got to come if you embodying a greater energy than what this so-called money is. You know, so you got to look at things in a higher perspective of how everything works, right? So just, you know, breaking down this magic thing, you got to understand that just because science says something is not so, doesn't mean that it's really not so. What you got to do is embody it for yourself. Understand that you are magical. Everything is magic. Everything you breathe, see, touch, taste, smell, all of the air, that first breath, from the time of your birth, you was born into a magical place. So how can you not do the magic? Do the magic for yourself. Make it work for yourself. And I'm just saying this on a real high level because we getting into a whole heap of concepts and new stuff that, like I say, you might be scared of this if you're a Christian. You might have read that Bible and been told that, hey, I don't want to get involved in that. But you got to understand that what energy is, what vibrations is, get into some different stuff, get into the Hermetic principles. You get to start to understand exactly what these other stuff that these scientists and religions and the governments, why they don't want you to get involved in this stuff. Because this is the true stuff that makes you more powerful. So when it comes to knowing thyself, you got to know how powerful you really are, you know? So with that being said, we go ahead and keep it on a high level, right? Keep that magic working for you. Like, subscribe, and share. And with that being said, peace.